Actor says Hollywood has become sinister and demonic in his March for Life speech. Well, no S, buddy. Where have you been? Click the links to join the channel here over on Subscribe Star. So, a reimagining of the story of Christ with all blonde-haired and blue-eyed Chad and Stacy types. I mean, that's what I would do if I was retelling one of the stories. It would trigger the lamentations of the soy boys and cat ladies on Twitter, which would be awesome, and it would also bring attention to the show. Anything to get eyeballs. I would prefer a reimagining of the life of Christ, but updated to be more inclusive of blue and green eyed people. Remember, if you value diversity, it must include the people of the light. Many of us are waiting and praying for the fire and brimstone. Please hit New York and San Francisco first. So, chosen actor Jonathan Rumi, who plays Jesus Christ, appeared at the annual March for Life. Noted the landscape in the entertainment industry, film, television, music. Don't skip musicals and plays too. There's a play that came out a couple of years ago about the Bachabazi, which is the dancing boys of Pakistan and Afghanistan. Even the woke audience who saw that play are like, oh dear God, some things just should not be talked about. So this actor said he had noticed that Hollywood entertainment had become increasingly sinister. Again, yeah, since 1963. So he stated that for some time now, we've been witnessing to a mounting polarity between light and dark. We've seen it manifest itself in many facets of culture. Yeah, it's just been constant acceleration. It's how you generationally slowly boil the frog to get people to accept more and more degeneracy to where we are now. If you want to go watch female rap videos on YouTube, you can kind of see where we are now. But I would like to address, as I see it, as an artist in the entertainment industry, in the last several years, there's been a sharp and disturbing increase in the darkness of the imagery being used in film, television, and music. The landscape has become increasingly sinister, and I will add, yes, and anti-white and misandrist. In some cases, even demonic in tone, more so than in previous years, sometimes subliminal. Yeah, there's an article about the shift that happened in about 1963, 1964 with I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched, where they started to, the Bolsheviks started to slowly destroy the patriarchy by portraying the pater as incompetent. And they slowly started to tear down. So if you notice like a shift from the Leave It to Beaver era of TV into I Dream of Jeannie, where the family was portrayed differently and the male, the head, was portrayed differently as just a little less competent, something that could be made fun of, a little silly, a little goofy, and it's like you just kept eroding and eroding at the structure from there. So the stories involving the occult, witchcraft, demons, even satanic elements are commonplace in mainstream programming. Many feature spiritually and psychologically disturbing content. I'm referring to the media, which is more ominous, and I don't need to name names. You know it when you see it. He stated, the youngest of us and most vulnerable, as well as those who are not grounded in a solid faith in God, are susceptible to the influence of these images. Yeah, good thing they shut down churches for the past 3 years. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. Media has become, I mean, the thing they're terrified of is, well, one, people having group preferences, but two, people joining their community of their tribe and going to churches and being part of their group, and having tighter networks that are, remove themselves from power from above them, like community power, family power, tribal power, and church power. These are all systems, things to nucleate around, and it's like they make sure to disrupt them as much as possible. It's funny. There's an article that came out on there's been like 200 attacks on churches where it's just vandalism on churches for some reason, where they're not robbing things over the past couple of years, and it's like the media doesn't cover it. They cover other things, other attacks on other religious groups, but the attacks on churches just get ignored, both in America and Canada. Just flies under the radar for some reason. I'm sure that's organic. So media has become a portal to behavior and attitudes kids want to emulate that reject God, reject the light, and reject ultimately all those aspects of community which give life. I've observed God subtly but radically being removed from popular public culture over the last couple of decades, replaced with some of those corruptive images and ideologies for young hearts and minds. yeah, I mean, like if you're of this generation, or just go back and watch TV from the 60s, 70s, and 80s and watch the progression. And the idea that like people just blindly accepted this electronic propaganda machine. Not everyone in their living room. Not everyone. Some people did reject it, but like so many people had a TV in their it was the electronic babysitter. It's like, yeah, that's what books are for. That's what their family is for. It's like so many people from, so many generations just allowed that electronic globalist, just the most toxic things, propaganda tool in their living room. Like that thing was on all the time, and people just blindly accepted it. I will say now that people are finally starting to become more aware, because now we have alt media with which to we can deconstruct the globalists who are pushing this narrative. So one of the things they're pushing was hypersexuality for young women, that they're nothing more than receptacles to be used and discarded, that's one of the weird subversions of feminism. They convinced young women that true feminism was to be a sex positive whore, and all this happened in the past 20 and 30 years. Yeah, in my version of this story, these guys would be blonde haired and blue eyed. So instead of getting married, having kids, and maintaining tight relationships with the family, they absolutely are terrified of people getting tribal. So now girls have been convinced to march around on slut walks and abort their kids. And you look at some of this was a couple years ago and they were doing this. I don't know if they're still doing it. So you look at the expressions on their face and you wonder, like, are you really on board with this? Are you 100% on board with this? Or you start to kind of questioning why exactly you're marching around with your shirt off, but yet tape over your nipples for some reason. So, how do you know subversion, feminism got subverted by these globalists? Well, they're pushing tribe mixing and whoredom. Well, congratulations, feminists. You, like the left in general, got completely subverted. Will the feminists support a big family, tribal, nationalist branch of feminism? An anti abortion, a Christian, or a Euro pagan tribal branch of feminism? Like, can there be an Odinist branch of feminism? Somehow, when I look at the people, sorry, the puppet masters who are pulling the strings on feminism, I really doubt it. Um, Now, here's the thing. If there seems to be, I forget what they call this new branch of feminism. There's a word for it. But there seems to be this schism between what you call like classic European led feminism, where if you're of that, you can just say, it's okay to say that that's just a better feminism. Like this is a classier version of feminism. And there seems to be this thing now where these women, more especially women and soy boys on the left, are kind of letting non-European people manipulate you just by your origin of being of European origin. That you're gonna have to like put a foot down on that to stop this, or leave the movement, because European people are awesome. Their ideas are awesome. Tribe Europa people have values. Their ideas have values. You got to reject these anti-white globalists and stop allowing them to manipulate you just by naming your ethnicity as somehow that's a negative thing. It's not, and you have to stop accepting it. It's been slowly wormed into this feminist movement. Anyway, I think you can safely look at Hollywood and the music industry and conclude by now that it's run by demons, whose goal is to destroy the family and thus the nation. It's probably why the Great American Family Network, I did a video on that a couple days ago, got so popular, because they're not, they have, I think they're probably a Christian group where they have a different set of beliefs. It's like you got to just be honest about it. Like, okay, yeah, these are our beliefs. They're not your beliefs. So you're outside our group. This is our group. It's for us. And diversity, inclusion, equity. No, this isn't for you because you have beliefs adverse to our beliefs. You can't make all things for all people. If this is a Christian pro-nation, pro-tribal, pro-family movement or group, then it's not all things to all people. If you don't believe those things, then why you're not in the group? We're not going to change our dogma just to be diverse and inclusive. It's like we don't value those things. We value our dogma. You're cultural Bolsheviks. You value that because you've been brainwashed into thinking, just parroting these key words. Diverse and diverse, diverse. Yeah, that's just coming from the Frankfurt School, Saul Alinsky, Moses Mordecai Levy. That's Marx, Lenin, Engels. That's all globalist nonsense. These people, they're Christian and they value the Christian dogma. If they're nationalist or whatever, they value other things. Anyway, so what is being pushed in the mainstream now is the found family, the Frankfurt School, the Bolshevik concept to reject your blood tribe and join a ragtag group. It's pretty much standard Marxist subversion to destroy a nation, and you see it in comic books especially, and also in movies. One of the most insane examples is a woman's rap video. They're pretty much just chubby women or slightly chubby women who are in leather bikinis miming sex acts. That's the whole video, is a woman on her hands and knees pretending that she's in doggy style. It's just as, I mean, it's just as crude as it sounds. But modern feminists have to kind of tie themselves in a Gordian knot to justify it, because it's pox women who are doing it. They won't just find their balls and say, hey, that's not the pathway that we want to go down. Because then they'll get the label of, oh, that, well, you're European feminists. And I forget the name of what they call that. Well, then clearly that's a better branch of feminism. Like, you can, it's time for you, whoever you are, to just stand up and say, yes, our ideas have value because we have value. You can't discount our ideas just because they're coming from someone who's of English origin, or something. That's a reduction ad absurdum, or whatever you call it. Um, if European feminism means that you're not dancing around like a stripper, well, then clearly that's a superior form of the dialectic. So the fair feminist girls are manipulated because they accept the communist dialectic that assumes that the European thought is less than non-European thought. But pretty much, if you accept non-European feminism, you're accepting the globalist subversion, Frankfurt School, Alinsky feminism. And I suppose these type of feminists are probably starting to leave the crazy pox-ruled feminists, or at least the pox puppets on strings, and join the alt-right trad girl movement that thinks women should not dance around like strippers. Literally Hugo Boss, if you reject degeneracy. He concluded his speech and said that we're under an assault on our sense of virtue. We're enduring an affront to the innate holiness we're all imbibed with and called to, an attack on the family structure and the sacredness of the gift of life. He continued, but as ones created in the image and likeness of God, who is himself love, we are charged to be the standard bearers who defend and preserve the dignity of every human, especially the most vulnerable, which begins with the initial stages of life and continues throughout the entire cycle from conception through the phase we all aim to enter into our golden years, followed by the final stages of our earthly existence. Anyway, I thought it was interesting to see some, I don't know, conservative religious groups are making some inroads in pushing back against the Hollywood machine, and shining a light on Hollywood and saying, clearly there's an issue with Hollywood. It's I mean, you just have to watch the slow progression of Hollywood, and you kind of know what's going on. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.